So Madeline, I really want to talk about something that I'm very excited about, and it's really my passion, is how to develop attention, how to reach more people. And I think a lot of people get this wrong. One of the methods that you're using now is guesting on podcasts just like this. What are some other ways that you're reaching new clients and leveraging the power of social media to reach more people? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I actually, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I had a huge moment in my business where I had already had my direction planned. I knew what my year was going to look like. And then, of course, we all got derailed when the pandemic was announced. But for me, that meant that 50% of my business, which is my corporate clients, froze all of their marketing budgets over the course of 4 days. So I lost an entire 50% of my business literally in a 4-day span. From Friday to Monday, every single contract I had, every single thing I had in the pipeline froze. So I was like, okay, well, thankfully I'm fiscally smart with my money. Like, I'm a smart business owner and I don't just spend. I make money and keep it, right? So I was well positioned to weather a stormy or a quiet phase in my fit sales cycle. And I said, okay, what do I have? What can I do? And I decided to be generous. I decided that I am in a beautiful position to give. And people right now need knowledge, they need hope, they need inspiration, they need all these things. So I made a commitment to not be outdone in generosity. And what I did is I leveraged generosity. So I posted up on LinkedIn, I posted on my social pages, and then I started building YouTube content that was just generously giving within a certain parameter, right? So I wouldn't give away everything for free, right? That's not the way it works. But I just thought through what are the topics that people most need. And I designed a few things, a few webinars, a few content pieces to just generously give. And then when I took that generous giving concept and I reached back to every single corporate client who had bought from me in the past, every single corporate client who hadn't bought from me in the past. And I said, hey, look, this is what we do for a living, right? People pay us to do this, but I want to just give this to your audience. And I helped 6,500 people in 45 days.
So this is interesting. You created the content that's going to provide value to your target market, to your niche, and then you reached out to clients who had maybe frozen for the meantime because of the pandemic.
Yep.
And you were able to collaborate with them. I think am I hearing you right?
Yeah, they had frozen their spending,
right,
but they hadn't frozen their activity. And their people, so the small business owners who I know and love, still needed stuff. They needed a lot. They were worried. They didn't know what to do. They're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Right? My team, I just got basically laid off, and I'm a small business owner. I've got 5 people on my team. I had to furlough everyone. Like, they're panicked. So I knew what to do. I knew how to help them. Disasters have struck before, maybe not in a pandemic way, but I have leveraged people through disaster before. Like, I have helped them. So I just built some content that I knew would help them. And I reached out to manufacturers. I reached out to industry leaders. I reached out to associations. So if you're in an industry where there are strong associations, do not underestimate the fact that association leaders, the boards and the content planners, they're always hungry for good content.
Yeah.
So leverage those if they're in part of your industry.
Yeah. So let's talk about how we're actually connecting with these leaders, because you, Madeleine, you're already well established. Everyone knows you. You're connected on all these different sides. But for the new coach who's trying to get their business off the ground, they maybe don't know a lot of people in the industry. So one of the things that I've looked at doing is you find a company on LinkedIn and you just start reaching out to all the employees, the team members, the officers, the board. That can be a good way to find new people. Are there any other methods that you've used to improve your get on a call ratio? Because cold calling is not fun. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to challenge you. Cold calling can be heck of fun if you make it fun, right? You got to choose to be like, all right, I'm going for as many no's as I can possibly get. Let's grind it. Like, fair. You can choose to make it fun. So that's my number one, because I cold call. Like, I legit have no call aversion, because when I was in college, I actually did fundraising phone call. There is no more depressing job to have when you're like 18 years old in college than to call random people who don't even know you and ask for money for your school for nothing. Like, just because you're calling them and asking at dinner, right? That gave me a really high, like, okay, it can't be any worse than that. So that definitely is the calling side. So I definitely leverage that, because remember that they need to know you as a person, no matter what. No matter if you connect with them through social or they come to your website, the end game as a coach and consultant is that they say, hey, Mark, I like you, right? I trust you. I'm going to work with you. And the more proximate you get, so the closer you get to that personal interrelationship, then the better. So that's why I don't shy away from calls, because it's direct. They hear your voice and you're talking directly to them. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, have you ever played the game, like maybe this will date me, but 7 Steps to Kevin Bacon? Have you ever played that game? Like where you list a movie? Okay, so you list a movie, you say start with a movie, and then you have 7 chances to find a movie where Kevin Bacon co-starred with one of the other stars of another movie. Right, so-and-so was in this movie, they were in this movie with that actor, they were in this movie with that actress, this actress was in that movie, oh, and then they were in this movie with Kevin Bacon. Right, like, so it's a game that you can play, and I believe that there is more like that in our lives than you might think. So even if you personally are not connected to someone who you want to connect with, someone you know knows someone who's connected with someone who's connected with someone who's connected with that person. It's the whole premise of LinkedIn in the first place.
Right.
Right? So don't forget to mind the connections of your connections and ask for introductions. Because if you don't ask, you won't get. Most people, if you say, hey, do you know anyone who could use my services? They're like, no. Meanwhile, you look in their connections and you're like, oh my gosh, you're connected with the guy who does the blah, blah, blah for the blah, blah, blah. I need to know that guy because he knows all the people I need to know. Would you mind introducing me to so-and-so?
That's smart. So you're kind of like reverse engineering it. So you're not going in cold, you're going in warm, right?
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because if someone introduces you to someone else, they will respond and be like, hey, Mark, thanks so much for introducing me to Madeleine. She's fantastic. I looked her up. And then privately, they'll say that to you. And then to me, they'll be like, hey, thanks for the introduction, Mark. Madeleine, let's connect. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a call. And that's the one moment then now I'm right next to them, right? So all the cold methods are work, but they're long. So this speeds it up. I'm all about fast. I like things to be happening quickly. I have a sales training that I call Fast Track Sales Systems because I like it to be quick, but it has to be quick and real.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages of hiring an expert like Madeleine at MMMacRae.com. You can skip all the trial and error and just get to what works. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.